So in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, whaling was a massively lucrative industry, and it brought people down into the Pacific, into the Atlantic and into the Indian Oceans in search of whales, which they would harvest and then take the oil back to the places they came from. And by the early 19th century, there was a huge industry of whaling in Aotearoa, and you had British people, French people and American people, whalers in the oceans and also in settlements, actually here in New Zealand. So as well as looking for whales for money, so they could make profits coming down this far into the southern parts of the world, whalers were also really interested in using the whale for their own purposes. For example, there's a chair that's made out of whalebone that we're going to talk about, but they also would use whale's teeth to make scrimshaw. And scrimshaw is where you put images onto the whale's teeth. You carve them into the surface of it and then put an ink in so that you can see this great pattern, this, different kinds of things. They can be people, they can be landscapes, they can be scenes, lots of different subjects. This was something that whalers did to pass the time while they were on the ship. It's not always action when you're in the Southern Ocean looking for whales. Sometimes there's boring parts, so you would make scrimshaw to fill in the time that you had available. Sometimes scrimshaw is known as sweetheart works, and that's because they were often made to take home and give to wives or girlfriends. And that leads to something else that's kind of interesting, which is that the subjects, the images that the whalers put on the scrimshaw isn't what was happening on board ship, not what they saw here, but often were things from home. So you actually had these gifts that were to take home, showing people and scenes from home, things that they remembered from the life they had before they came down to the Southern Ocean. So the whalebone chair was found in 1944 by an 11-year-old boy who was fossicking around in a private dump behind a house in the Strand, which is one of the streets in Russell. Now Russell's a pretty interesting place. It was called Kororareka, known as Kororareka by Māori, that was its Māori name, and it was a really popular stopover place for whalers in Aotearoa in the early 19th century. They would go there to get provisions like water and food, they'd go there to get their ships fixed, and they would go there to have some time off the boat, shore leave it was called. Initially it got a really great reputation as a beautiful place to do all of those things, but quickly it became known as the hellhole of the Pacific. There were grog shops, there were brothels, it was not the greatest place, according to some people, to stop over. There's another chair that's associated with whaling, and that's called the Johnny Jones chair. It's named after the man who set up the whaling station near Waikoaiti, where the chair comes from. That's a little township near Dunedin. And we know it was made sometime around after 1838. It's made of rimu, so a native timber, and it's a much more elegant chair than the whalebone one. It's got arms, and it's a simplified Regency style chair, which is a kind of interior furnishing style that was really big back in Britain, around this time. And the comparison is really interesting because the wooden one, the Johnny Jones chair, is made by someone who's got an idea of furniture. They're pretty sophisticated. The whalebone chair is made by someone who needed something to sit on. Both are really charming, but you see a massive difference between DIY and then making something a little bit more special. Both chairs, but show a quite different way of living and thinking about what it is to be here in Aotearoa. For more information, follow the links in the description below.